Workhorse trucks. These were the British-built beasts that kept the country moving, hauling, towing, and delivering everything from milk to military cannons. Buckle up, because today we're counting down 7 British workhorse trucks, the legends that refuse to quit. Number 7. Scammell Mechanical Horse, the workhorse that replaced actual horses. Back in the 1930s, someone finally said, maybe we should stop using horses for deliveries, and the Scammell Mechanical Horse was born. This 3-wheeled wonder was the answer to congested streets and slow-moving carts. Railway companies, breweries, and businesses everywhere jumped on board. It had an automatic trailer coupling system, meaning drivers could drop off and pick up loads without breaking a sweat. It could also turn within a 20-foot radius, making tight corners look easy. Powered by either a 1,125 cubic centimeter or 2,043 cubic centimeter engine, depending on the model, it was a small but mighty beast. And if that wasn't enough, the French took the idea and ran with it, producing their own version until 1970. So, where are they now? These days, you'll find mechanical horses lovingly restored by collectors, rolling into vintage truck rallies, looking like they just stepped out of a black and white film. Number 6. Scammell Scarab. By 1948, Scammell decided the mechanical horse needed a facelift. Meet the Scarab. Gone was the wooden cab. Now it had an all-steel body. It looked sleeker, felt sturdier, and was generally more comfortable for drivers who were tired of feeling every bump in the road. The engine got a better placement, sitting lower and further back for improved stability. The cooling system was moved behind the right-hand cab door because why not? Same great maneuverability, same brilliant automatic trailer coupling system, but with a fresh new attitude. The Scarab ruled urban deliveries for 2 decades. When it finally bowed out in 1967, it made way for the Scammell Townsman, a fiberglass-clad successor. Where is it now? Restored Scarabs still pop up at truck shows, turning heads like it's 1950 all over again. Some are even still roadworthy, proving that good engineering never goes out of style. Number 5. Land Rover Series 1. In 1948, Britain was still licking its wounds from World War II, and farmers needed something tougher than an old plow horse. Enter Maurice Wilks, the Rover company's design chief, who had a surplus Jeep and an idea. He sketched something simple but brilliant, a steel chassis, an aluminum body because steel was scarce, and a no-nonsense approach to getting work done. And just like that, the Land Rover Series 1 was born. Under the hood sat a 1.6-liter petrol engine with about 50 horsepower. That may not sound like much, but this thing wasn't built for speed. It was built to pull, push, climb, and crawl. The original model had an 80-inch wheelbase, which made it maneuverable enough for farms, fields, and anywhere else you didn't want to get stuck. People quickly realized this little machine could do more than just haul hay. The military took notice, and before long, the Land Rover was serving in uniform. By 1952, Rover swapped in a 2.0-liter petrol engine, and in 1957, they added a diesel option. The wheelbase stretched to 86 and 107 inches in 1954, then 88 and 109 inches in 1955, 1956. It didn't just get bigger, it got better. The Land Rover Series 1 was built for abuse. Whether it was crossing a muddy farm, a battlefield, or a jungle, this thing kept going. That's why the British Army called it their workhorse. It wasn't fast, it wasn't fancy, but it refused to quit. And let's be honest, that's all you really need in a truck. Now, if the Land Rover was the scrappy farm dog of off-roaders, the AEC Matador was the war elephant. This thing was built to tow artillery, big guns, the kind that made enemy tanks have second thoughts. Number 4. AEC Matador. During World War II, the British military needed a truck that could drag heavy cannons through mud, sand, and whatever else Europe had to offer. AEC, the company best known for building London buses, stepped up and gave the military the Matador, a 4x4 powerhouse with a cab that looked like a brick wall on wheels. The Matador was built tough. Its cab was steel-clad with an ashwood frame, because apparently AEC figured if it worked for furniture, it would work for trucks. The cargo area was covered with a canvas tilt, making it useful for everything from hauling supplies to transporting troops. It wasn't just a gun hauler, It was a Swiss Army truck. This machine had one job: get the artillery where it needed to be, no matter the terrain. And it did just that. The 4x4 system gave it serious off-road capability, and its rugged design meant it could take a beating and keep rolling. After the war, the Matador didn't retire. It just changed careers. Forestry companies loved it. Recovery teams used it. Heavy transport businesses put it to work. If you needed to move something big through rough terrain, the Matador was the truck for the job. Now, to a true classic, number 3, the Ford Thames. Back in the 1950s and 60s, the Ford Thames was the truck of choice for farmers, builders, and traders. It wasn't the fastest thing on the road, but speed wasn't the point. This truck was made to haul, climb, and survive the roughest roads Britain had to offer. Muddy paths? No problem. Heavy loads? Bring it on. If trucks had personalities, the Thames would be that old, reliable bloke at the pub who never lets you down. The Thames line started in 1939 and covered a range of commercial vehicles, from the light-duty Fordson Thames E83W to the heavy-duty Ford Thames Trader. These trucks got the job done, whether you were running a small business or moving serious cargo. By 1965, Ford decided to drop the Thames name, and all trucks carried the Ford badge from then on. But for those who remember, the Thames was more than just a name. It was a legacy of hard work. Now, let's talk about a truck that put the small in small business. Number 2, the Morris commercial. This was the ride for local shop owners, fruit sellers, and small-time haulers. If you needed a dependable vehicle to carry your goods, Morris had your back. It wasn't flashy, but it was tough, reliable, and perfect for getting the job done. Morris Commercial started making trucks in the 1920s, and by the 1940s and 50s, their vehicles were everywhere. The Morris J-Type, a light commercial van produced between 1949 and 1961, became an icon. It was the kind of truck you'd see parked outside a corner shop, loaded up with fresh produce or furniture deliveries. Fast forward to today, and Morris Commercial is making a comeback with an electric version of the J-Type. Yep, the past meets the future in a truck that refuses to be forgotten. Now, if you grew up in the 60s or 70s, you probably remember our number 1, Bedford TK. This truck was a beast: square cab, towering presence, and built like a tank. It was the go-to truck for long-haul drivers, construction workers, and even the British military. If you saw one of these rolling down the highway, you knew it meant business. The Bedford TK was introduced in 1960 and quickly became a staple of British roads. It came in different configurations, from rigid trucks to tractor units, and had engine options to suit every need. If you were a trucker back then, your Bedford TK was more than just a vehicle. It was home. Long hours, long roads, and a radio signal that faded in and out were all part of the experience. And let's not forget the military version, the Bedford MK, which served the British Armed Forces well into the 90s. Tough? Absolutely. Reliable? You bet. A legend? Without question. And now, here's a bonus for you guys. We get to the one that stole the hearts of truck enthusiasts everywhere, the Leyland-DAF 85. This truck was the perfect blend of power, endurance, and style. Launched in the late 80s as a collaboration between British Leyland and Dutch company DAF, the Leyland-DAF 85 was a game changer. It had a powerful engine, a comfortable cab, and an aerodynamic design that made long-haul trucking a little less grueling. Hauliers loved it for its reliability, and collectors today treat it like a piece of gold. If you were behind the wheel of a Leyland-DAF 85, you knew you were driving something special. It was the kind of truck that didn't just get the job done, it did it with class. But here's the problem: these classic trucks are disappearing. They're being replaced by modern, cleaner, and more efficient models, which is great for the environment, but a tragedy for those of us who love the old mechanical workhorses. Many of these vintage trucks end up scrapped, rusting away in some forgotten lot. Luckily, not all hope is lost. A dedicated group of enthusiasts and collectors is working hard to restore these trucks, bringing them back to life piece by piece. They spend years tracking down original parts, fixing engines, and making sure these legends don't fade into history. And here's the surprising part: young people are getting in on it too. The same generation that grew up with smartphones is now out in garages, covered in grease, restoring trucks that were built before their parents were born. Why? Because these trucks have soul. They tell a story of resilience, of long roads and hard work. They remind us of a time when things were built to last, when a truck wasn't just a machine, but a companion on the journey. Time moves on, and so did the transport industry. Smaller, three-wheeled trucks eventually became obsolete. Bigger, faster, and more efficient vehicles took over. But thanks to dedicated enthusiasts, these British icons haven't been forgotten. Museums, collectors, and vintage vehicle rallies keep their legacy alive. So, while you won't see a Scarab making deliveries in London anymore, you might just catch one cruising down the road, looking better than it did in its prime. These trucks may have retired, but their legend keeps rolling. And that's a wrap on 7 British workhorse trucks, the legends that kept Britain moving. These trucks weren't just machines, they were partners in hard work, built to last and designed to get the job done, no matter the challenge. But here's the real question. Which one was your favorite? Are you a fan of the rugged Bedford TK, or do you respect the old-school charm of the Scammel mechanical horse? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into British trucking history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome vehicle content. And if you know someone who loves classic trucks, share this video with them, because legends like these deserve to be remembered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.